and welcome to this week's edition of Newsmaker Live with me, Kendall Burton. It's World Food Day, and of course our discussion this evening will focus on things World Food Day related. More specifically, we'll be focusing on agro-processing, and to help us do that is our special guest this evening, the manager of the Foaso agro-processing plant, Mrs. Cynthia Lionel. Miss Cynthia Lionel, thank you so much for being with us. I know it's been a long day for you. We really appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. Let's start with a definition of what agro-processing is.
Okay, for us, agro-processing is actually adding value to whatever produce you have in your country. You add value, so you extend the shelf life of most of those items.
Okay, in the case of the Foaso plant, give me a little history and background on that plant and why, or the thinking, rationale behind the establishment of the agro-processing plant in Foaso.
Okay, the agro-processing plant in Foaso is the brainchild of the former Minister for Agriculture, that is Mr. Ezekiel Joseph.
Right.
It was his foresight, more or less, because, and I think from what I understood from him after a personal interview, realizing that on a seasonal basis, we have so many of certain products of produce that are just going to waste on a yearly basis.
Right.
So what he tried to do is to find a way to add value to those produce or those products, extending the shelf life, so even outside of the season, we are able to consume some of those items.
How extensive is the line of products that you process?
For now, we have only started with I'm going to just give you the items. We have started with the yam, the dashin, green bananas, green plantain, and breadfruit. Because as you're aware, in St. Lucia, we have, during the season, we have quite a huge number of those items. And so what we try to do is to add value so that we can extend the shelf life of all of those products. In addition to this, we process seasonal fruits. You're aware. We have mangoes, we have tamarind, we have quite a number of those fruits in abundance during the season. And by the time you blink your eye, those items are out of season and you cannot consume. So what we try to do is to process the fruits into juices and the produce into vacuum pack items for longer shelf life.
So let's go for a list of the products that you actually process. Mangoes, tamarind, you
mangoes,
yams.
tamarind. For the juices, we do the mangoes. We do mangoes, passion fruit, lime, tamarind, guava. I think I mentioned 5.
Are those primarily processed for local consumption, or
for
is it
now,
an export market in mind?
For now, we are just targeting the local market because we want our people here to eat healthy.
Right.
And we are targeting the local market. In the future, we will be looking at exporting, but for now, we're just targeting the local market.
Right. Now, speaking of eating healthy, how closely are you working with the Ministry of Health, for instance, or Ministry of Education?
Okay.
You did team up earlier today to stage the food fair.
We were part of the food fair. Right. I'm not sure if you're aware, sometime about a month ago, we had some visitors here from the FAO.
Right.
And what they're trying to do is to implement, to get those items into the schools, into the school feeding program. Because you are aware that right now our kids, they prefer consuming the items, the box juices from overseas. The FAO is looking into getting those items into the schools so we can feed our schools with what we produce locally and healthy.
But didn't you at some point, and I imagine that's before your time, because you've been with the agro-processing plant.
It's a little over a year.
A little over a year. Yeah. But to some extent, weren't you already doing, on a trial basis, distribution to the local schools or the schools within the Foaso area?
We have tried it at most of the schools in the north. In the north.
What was the reception been like?
Some schools were interested. In fact, most schools were interested. The problem is it's funding, because the goods are not just given to the schools, but sold at a certain price.
Right.
But what I've been getting from the schools is that the school feeding program that they have, that exists right now, does not cater for juices. And so they get a certain amount of items from the ministry, but it does not, they don't cater for juices, and so they are a little reluctant in terms of spending the monies to purchase. But hopefully with the help of the FAO, those juices, those items will be distributed towards all of the schools in the coming
The next academic
in
year.
the next right.
Okay, now let's look at the pre-cut food items like the yams and these things. To what extent are they available in the supermarkets currently?
Currently, if you go to Mega J and some of the supermarkets, you will find the dashing. And the reason you will find the dashing is because you're aware that dashing you can find year-round. However, the yam, because our packaging material came in a little bit late, we were not able to capitalize on the yam season last year. So you find you had a small number of items in terms of the yams on the supermarket shelves. Excuse me, but hopefully we will be capitalizing because we have the packaging material. We will be capitalizing on this year's yam season. So hopefully you will be seeing a lot more of the yam and the dash in the supermarket. In regard to the green bananas, the green plantain, and the breadfruit, we have just started the production of these, and hopefully this too you will be seeing in the supermarkets very soon.
Okay, but how important is the packaging? You mentioned the packaging material. How important is that a consideration in the overall process?
They say first impression is lasting impression, and so when somebody walks into a supermarket, the first thing that catches your eye is how the product looks in the package. And so we want our products to be appealing, not just because it's a local product, but we want it to be appealing. So our packaging material has to be catchy, it has to be eye-catchy. So when people walk into the supermarket, they can get those items, and they have no doubt the product is good, and even the packaging is interesting as well.
Is it purely aesthetics that you're considering, or is it something else, other factors taken into consideration?
In terms of the packaging? The packaging, we want the consumers to see exactly what is it they're buying. So the package, while we have this beautiful, colorful package labels on the product, at least you're able to see what's inside, so you can tell exactly what you're purchasing.
Okay. Tell me a little more about the actual plant. How many employees, in terms of equipment, what's your capacity?
Okay. Currently, we have a total number of 13 persons employed at the plant. We started off with 21, sorry, but due to the limited, in terms of our equipment, we were not fully equipped with all of what we needed to get the plant running as we would like it to. Unfortunately, we had to cut down the amount of staff. But we were hoping in the future, because let me just mention something to you. As we speak, there's some retrofitting to be done at the plant. The plant will be retrofitted to be able to have HACCP certification. And all of the proper equipment will be installed in the plant. So hopefully we'll be able to produce a little more in terms of production, and to provide more employment for persons in the community.
Okay, let's look more specifically at the process. You've given us a definition for agro-processing. Are there different kinds of agro-processing?
Well, it's the actual word is processing here. It's actually processing. You process the juices, you process the vacuum pack, and hopefully in the future we're looking into processing vegetables, because currently, we import a lot of frozen vegetables from overseas. We want to be able to go into that as well, but not in the near future. Sometime later on in the production. But for now, we're trying to capitalize on the juices and the vacuum pack items. Okay,
I recall at some point there was a discussion between the agro-processing plant, the Foasa plant, and Winfresh. About providing ingredients for sorbets and that sort of thing.
I think
has that taken off?
Not as yet, but the communication is still ongoing, because HACCP certification is vital.
Especially if you're going to export.
Especially if you want to export. And so you have to get the plant in that capacity to be able to export. And so this is when Winfresh will be coming in, but the communication is still ongoing in terms of partnering.
How close is that to happening? HACCP certification.
Like I said to you earlier, we're looking into retrofitting the plant. We'll be getting some monies from the United Nations, and hopefully after the plant is retrofitted and all of those proper equipments are placed, then we will be looking at exporting.
Okay, let's talk about some of the constraints and challenges that you've experienced since the establishment of the agro-processing plant. Yeah.
For our challenges now, we do have a few challenges. Some of the challenges are, when the plant was established, we did not secure a market for whatever it is we were going to generate or process at the plant. And so finding a secure market is one of our challenges. Price. Although we do not wish to be competitive, because we do not want to compete with other supermarkets, not the farmers, we want to be able to sell at a price where we can remain sustainable.
Right.
This is another challenge, and as I said to you earlier, equipment. Getting the proper equipment for the plant so that we can produce, because right now most of what we do is being done manually. So with the proper equipment, we can look at mass production.
Right.
So these are a few of our challenges as we speak.
Okay. How big an issue is the consistent and sufficient supply of raw material?
What we've been trying to do is to get our raw materials throughout the entire St. Lucia, throughout the entire island. So sometimes you get a huge quantity of a certain items in the north, and you might not get it in the south, or sometimes you get in the south. So what we try to do is to rally everybody together. We try to get we're trying to get the regional offices, the agricultural offices, to assist us in that regard, so we can get products from everywhere throughout St. Lucia, so we can produce and have those items on, at least for sale, throughout.
How do you address the seasonality of some of the crops and raw material that you addressed earlier?
It's something we cannot run away from. It's something we do have the seasons, and sometimes during a season you have an abundance, and this is what the plant was established for in the first place, to be able to manage the abundance, the surplus that we get. Because when the market is saturated, when the supermarkets are saturated, the farmers have goods or items on their hand that they have no idea what to do with. So this is where we come in to take those items and process it. So even outside of the season, those items are available.
Let's talk about quality. I know that's an issue, a long-standing issue, especially where it relates to bananas. Is quality an issue when it comes to the other produce as well? And how are you addressing it?
Quality you see, for the agro-processing plant, what we do, while the supermarkets might be looking at color, when you use items for processing, color does not really matter. What you're interested in is the actual product, the inside the product. What is it you're going to process? So color does not really play a part in our processing.
Are you saying quantity is more important to you?
Quantity for us is more important. Assuming let's assume you get a basket of mangoes. And in that basket of mangoes, you have some deformed mangoes. You have some mangoes that are with extra brown color. That does not mean that it has a disease or anything. It's just that probably the rain or something affected the color. We do not reject those items. Those items, as long as we're going to use it for processing, it does not matter if it's deformed. As long as we can get the pulp or whatever it is we want from these items, then we can go ahead and process.
Okay. Training. You spoke earlier about the number of persons that you've employed. You had it reduced. What kind of training have you provided for those persons?
Okay.
Especially in light of your plans to expand.
It is health and safety, food security and food safety is very important to us. And so we want to ensure that the staff are trained in that area. As we speak, every member of staff is trained in food processing or food safety by the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards. And we have some ongoing training taking place. In terms of selection, the ministry is providing ongoing training. You are aware that we are sister to St. Lucia Marketing Board and the Fish Marketing Corporation, and so we are all under the umbrella of the Ministry of Agriculture. And so there is continuous training as we speak in terms of the selection process and food safety, food security, and food preparation.
So what are you looking for in terms of your employees and your staff?
We're looking towards having persons adhere to the food security and food safety rules and regulations that are in place in terms of food safety, because when you're into food, when you're into the production of food, you want to ensure that nobody gets sick because of something that they purchase from your plant. And so you want to ensure that everything is done the way it is, the process is followed, and everything is done properly so that we do not have any cross-contamination or no kind of contamination whatsoever.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that when the idea was conceived of the agro-processing plant, that consideration wasn't given to a market. What's being done to address that issue, and what is being done to expand existing markets?
Okay, me being here is one of the things that we're trying to address, so that at least people are aware that the agro-processing plant in Foaso do exist, and we sell to anyone who walks into our plant. We also sell to the various hotels and restaurants. In fact, we're open to anybody who is interested, and me being here is a form of marketing, trying to market the plant. Hopefully, after the retrofitting is done and all the proper equipment are installed into the plant, then we can look at marketing on a wider scale.
But is the consideration being given maybe to setting up an independent facility from which you can sell?
We have, like I mentioned earlier, we have two sister companies that are into retail as well. We have the St. Lucia Marketing Board. They're into retail. We'll be utilizing their retail offices so that we can sell our products. We're also looking at the Fish Marketing Corporation. There is a retail outlet as well. So we'll be looking at those two areas for now until we're able to put some proper measures in place. Okay,
let's talk about the importance that small farmers play to your business and on a wider scale the overall economy. Do you think it's appreciated or understood enough?
I think it is appreciated because the farmers now have choices. In terms of some of them you have a choice whether you want to go and sell your produce at the market itself in Castries or to CFL or to the Foaso agro-processing plant. Wherever you choose to go, at least it provides an avenue for the farmers so that they find at least there is an extra money in their pockets. They find an avenue where they can get their products sold at all times.
Are there any special incentives given or offered by the Foaso processing plant?
Currently, I wouldn't say that there is, but this is something we're working towards. We're trying to make the plant a place where farmers feel comfortable that they can come and sell to us at any given time.
I know financing is an issue for you. You've accessed funding overseas?
The plant, when the plant was built, it was a grant between it was an agreement between the Taiwanese embassy and the government of St. Lucia. So between the two entities, the plant was established. We will be getting, like I said earlier, some funding from the United Nations. However, the Ministry of Agriculture is what's keeping us sustenance right now until we're able to get off on our own 2 feet.
Okay. Now, in terms of encouraging farmers, whether on a small scale, on their own or as part of a cooperative, is that something that you want to encourage, or is it competition for the Foaso plant?
We would like for farmers, because currently, as we speak, there is a group in Angers. They seem to be a very unified group. We get items from them as well. And we were hoping that in the Foaso, not just Foaso, but the entire northern community can come together and work together in terms of selling to us as a group and not necessarily on an individual basis. You understand? So when you have, assuming one farmers have plantain, because if they sell to us as a group, we can even look at finding markets outside of St. Lucia to be able to sell the products.
Okay. Now, in terms of expansion, where ultimately would you like to see the agro-processing plant go?
I would like to see in the next couple of years that we're able to export our stuff, our items, or our produce, or our products outside of St. Lucia, even if it's just in the Eastern Caribbean. I would like to see us exporting our products within the region.
Okay, there's a lot of talk about the food security, the ability of the regional islands to support their populations, common agricultural policies. To what degree is that impacting on what you're doing?
Recently, we had a visit from the Minister of Agriculture of St. Vincent. In fact, he was en route to the United States to do a promotion for some of the produce that they have in St. Vincent. And he happened to stop by, came to the plant to see what we were doing, and he was very, very, very impressed with what he saw there. In fact, he took some of our products with him on his tour to the United States. So we're hoping that even if St. Lucia cannot sell by itself outside of the region, we can probably collaborate with our neighboring islands and work with them to sell, so that we can have a wider range or greater range of items outside of our region.
Do you know how advanced are some of our neighbors in terms of their own agro-processing abilities?
I might not be able to answer this. What I could tell you is we have had several visitors, foreign visitors visiting our plant, and from what I've been hearing, our plant seems to be by far the best in the eastern region. But like I said, I'm not too sure. This is just their opinion. But I am not too sure. I'm not able to tell you what's happening on the other islands.
Okay. You're watching Newsmaker Live with me, Kendall Burton, on DBS. My guest is Cynthia Lionel, the agro-processing plant manager at FOASO. We're talking about agro-processing, obviously, today being World Food Day. The theme for World Food Day, Sustainable Food Systems for Food Security and Nutrition. Today, almost, according to the statistics, 870 million people worldwide are chronically undernourished. When we come back, we'll talk about some of those issues related to nutrition and health generally, and how it relates to what you're doing at the agro-processing plant. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation.